Could you imagine how, like, think about it this way, Gavin. How many people are college students? They go to their university, they get dirt cheap tickets for their athletics program because they're students. And then you go to games, you make crazy drunken memories because you're in cheap seats, but you don't care because you're drinking alcohol and you're with a bunch of your friends or random people who you share one specific single solitary point of interest with, which is you're kind of maybe about this team that's playing, wearing the colors that you like. Um, and that's it. And you build an entire lifelong persona out of this, like for the next 70 years.
Sign me up, bro. I love that idea.
Yeah, I don't.
Actually, Orlando City did when I was in college, they did a week targeted push to college students, not college athletes, and they were cheaper tickets. I think it was $17 for wall tickets in the wall. I mean, it was a good price.
Great,
Um,
do it
but they
more.
didn't really market it well.
No,
Like I think you
no,
had to
classic
be I think
MLS.
you had to have an account with them, and then they like sent a push text notification. But they
Yeah,
didn't really like put it on like a poster. They didn't really like do advertisements. It was really just like an internal like, "Oh, hey, are you a fan already and you're a college student?
maybe
Here,
you could come to this game for
click
cheap.
click this link, prove to us you're a college student and you'll get cheaper tickets." Whereas I felt like they should have done a bigger marketing push, which they didn't do.
I feel like they could have just done a marketing push with the university and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
here's cheap tickets. Make sure these go to students.
Yeah.
Have
There's just
them
a
sign
huge
in." There you
demographic
go.
of students at the University of Central Florida
Yeah, and
that
students have
we
nothing
don't
better
tap
going on with their
into.
time. Like,
No.
I was a student once. What were you doing on the weekend when you were a student? Nothing. Probably drinking.
Yeah, not much homework
Yeah.
because college, like doing college classes isn't that difficult.
And studying is for nerds as well. It's well known.
Just cheat.
Yeah. I mean, just use AI. It's what everyone else is doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we didn't have that luxury, so we had to try, back in
No, no,
my
no.
day. But
We had Quizlet.
you might have had Quizlet,
I had
Gavin,
Quizlet.
okay?
I can't remember. Chegg was the other one. My brother had a
Yeah,
Chegg
check.
account and I used his Chegg account. That was great. Thanks, Chegg.
Yeah.
Got me through college.
Yeah, I'll tell you how I got through college, Gavin. Uh, yeah, that right there. Standardized testing and good old-fashioned brain power. That's why I
I
got
hated
such a big
college.
forehead. Gotta make room in there.
You know, someone watching this would say I have a bigger forehead than you, so which I do.
Well, I mean, you have a different hairline than I do.
Yeah, that's true.
I have a luscious full head of hair,
Hmm.
surpassed only by Mikel Arteta, who has maybe the best hair in the entire sport. So
Riccardo Calafiori would like a word.
he can have a word, and
Calafiori's
his
hair is amazing.
yeah, I mean, I don't disagree. Mikel Arteta's hair looks like it came off of a Lego figure.
That's
It's
fair.
perfect.
Yeah,
It's
that's true.
flawless every single time you see it. Like it
Yeah,
it looks like it shouldn't be real, and it is.
yeah, can't argue with you there.
You want to talk about soccer at some point?
Yeah, it's 9:41. We might as well.
We should probably talk about soccer. So, hey everyone, welcome back to the MLS Now podcast. I'm your host Russell. You can find me and the rest of the podcast on social media at MLS Now Podcast. That's right. Surprise, surprise. The podcast name is our social media handle, MLS Now Podcast, on TikTok, on Twitter/X, on Blue Sky, Instagram. And you think of it, we're potentially there, unless we haven't heard of it, in which case tag us on one of the other platforms and maybe we'll be on a platform near you at some point. But anyways, here to join us as always, we're talking about the Eastern Conference today. Bo and I talked about the Western Conference, and I said, got to bring in a specialist to talk about the East. So who better than Gavin, who you can find on social media at Lions Blog One. Gavin, are you ready to talk about the East? We're going to be talking about who's fierce, who's frauds, um, who's going to be falling down the table, and who's going to be, living their fantasy dreams at the end of the season.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I love
good.
me some Eastern Conference action, so let's do it.
What convenient because the team that you root for is in the Eastern Conference. So we're going to start bottom up, right? We're going to go over some of the easier clubs that I think, in terms of figuring out what's going on with them. So, Montreal is gonna be first. Sorry, Montreal folks. Uh, or this could be a very short episode for you if you only wanna listen to Montreal content, but we hope you stick around for the rest of it. So, Montreal, right, sitting on 8 points right now. They are on pace for sub 20 points. I don't know the last time that happened, Gavin. Not in modern MLS.
A sub 20-point season.
Yeah. Like, it was probably FC Cincinnati, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty sure even the worst FC Cincinnati season was exactly 20 points.
San Jose got close last year with 21. Toronto the year before got close with 22. But I mean, sub 20 would be insane.
It would be, correct, and that's
Cincinnati got 20 in
mhm.
2021. We're not
How
going
could
to
I
count
forget?
2020.
I wish I could forget, but can't.
Honestly, did someone get sub 20? Yeah, Cincinnati got 16 in 2020, but again, that doesn't count. 2019. Yeah, so I don't know. It would have to be back when the table was lesser
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah, pre this era of MLS.
Yeah, for sure.
So, anyways, Montreal not in the best of spots right now. Now, we say this, however, if I remember correctly, there were, I think it's like, what was it, like Wrexham and a few other places were even inquiring about some players on Montreal. So,
Well,
and
Wrexham's moving up to the championship,
they
so
are, well, and here's the thing, the championship it's a very respectable league. I think the middle to bottom end of the championship, I think MLS can pretty firmly compete with your top side teams, right? Like your Leeds or your Sheffield Uniteds,
Burnley.
your yeah, your Burnleys, your Norwiches. Those tend to, waffle up and down between the leagues, and I think those would probably be pretty strong in MLS, those sides, but your mid-table championship teams are a little bit of a different conversation. So I'm trying to remember. I think it was Saliba. It was Nathan Saliba
It
was
would
getting
probably be
interest.
him out of
Yeah.
all of them. He's been pretty decent this season, but the rest of the squad's been woeful. I've out of the squad, I've liked what I've seen from Saliba the most. So
Yeah.
that's who I was thinking when you said that they were asking for them. The first thought that my mind was probably Saliba.
Yeah. Well, your first thought seems to be correct if I'm recalling my internet transfer news correctly, which, it, look, they call it silly season for a reason, right? You're going to see
Yeah.
players linked everywhere. You're going to see names linked places where they have no business being linked. Maybe this is real, maybe it's not, but just it's, I guess you can take it as a small, maybe, small benefit, right? Or a small win is, well, Montreal aren't great, but some of their players are showing good things. I don't know if I don't know if I trust Saputo and company to keep those players or build anything off the good bits of the foundation that they have. So,
How could we trust them? They had a good thing going, and they totally threw it all away. They totally messed it up. Just a couple seasons ago, they finished second. They had Wilfred Dancy as their coach. Things were looking up, and within the space of a couple seasons, they lose their coach. They lose their next coach. They don't lose him. They fire him, but really wasn't doing much with the squad. To be fair, their
what?
squad is terrible,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and
what do you expect him to do with the squad?
literally, and it's all American rejects, right? We talked about it in the season preview, and that's what we're still seeing. George Campbell, Apoku, Bryce Duke, Katie Clark, Vrioni, Owusu, a lot of Sealy, a lot of players coming from a lot of different teams that just haven't worked out at those teams. Other than I think Apoku, who I thought was a good transfer at the time, good trade at the time from LAFC. But yeah, it's a disaster. They've been a disaster. I don't. What are we doing? Frauds or what? Or what's
Fiercer
the format?
frauds.
Fierce or frauds? I mean, this
Yeah,
one's easy. So
yeah,
frauds.
frauds. And there's probably got to be a middle ground as well for, like, for something. I don't.
Not
but
this team.
yeah, not this team. This team, they are for, but no one's saying they're good. Like
No,
I have
yeah,
a hard time calling them frauds because like they're not even trying to tell you like we're a really good team. Like they know they're not good.
yeah, yeah.
No one's out there being like, oh, their stats are, actually amazing and they should be in like 10th. Like, no, everyone's saying they're the worst team in the East and they sit at the bottom of the East. I think they sit bottom of the supporter shield in general because LA Galaxy, I thought, had passed them or at least tied them with the win. So,
I think it is still LA Galaxy on the bottom, and then Montreal. Yeah, um, Galaxy have 7 points. Montreal have
oof,
8.
man, yeah, honestly, it's pretty impressive that they're still somehow
Yeah.
not in dead last for the shield. But, anyways, so that's Montreal.
Yep.
But I don't have much else that I think we need to talk about for them because there are some really good teams and Montreal. I'm sorry, there's just I want you to be one of those, but you're not this year. So I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe if Saputo ever sells the team or gets a different mindset or I honestly, Gavin, I don't think with Saputo that they ever change though. I think this is very much an instance of if you want anything to happen with this team, he's got to divest.
Oh yeah, I think so. I think it's from the top down. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, Saputo is basically like the what is his name, like Dan Levy from Tottenham
For
Hotspur.
Tottenham, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
Just
like
terrible ownership.
yeah. All right, well, let's move on. We're gonna stay in Canada. We're gonna stick with Toronto, who sit in 14th place, and the signs were there that they were gonna have a rough season. They did not get the Insigne situation figured out. I saw some people over time have said Insigne has the worst contract ever in MLS, and I'm coming around on that idea.
I mean, there's
I
been some
don't
pretty
know.
bad ones.
There have been, but like from a stance of they're paying this man $15 million or something around there, like there can't have ever been a worse contract.
Yeah, for I guess what if you were to do dollars to output, it probably can't be worse
Yeah.
than that. I mean,
I
there have been some
I
good
don't know
play
if
or
he's there's been some bad players in
there's
MLS.
been some players who used to be good who were bad in MLS. Like we've seen that, but
Like
this has been
I
brutal.
not even Shaqiri was this much of a flop.
I think he
And
was. I was gonna say Shakiri. I think Shakiri was a flop, like this bad, but like he just wasn't paid as much.
I I don't think like I think he's close, but like uh, Chicago didn't try and hold Shaqiri out to try and force a move.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know why Toronto. I don't know what Toronto
Uh,
was thinking with that. Like
what was the payoff on this one?
this one's been a complete failure.
Yeah, which is wild because I'm mostly positive on Bernadeschi.
Yeah, I
Dude,
think
still
Bernowski's
very
been pretty good.
yeah, like he still very obviously cares. He tries. He's avoided drama for the most part. Like he's
And
on a he's on a contract that I think not many teams would take him on, but
yeah, yeah. I think the crazy thing is, right, is Toronto, you and I have talked about this before. Toronto are kind of like an endless money pit, their ownership, going back to the top. And yeah, they're sinking a ton of money into Insigne and Bernadeschi.
mhm,
But obviously they're two DPs, so they only have a certain cap cut on the cap,
the
not on the
rest of the
cap,
team
cap.
is not.
The rest of the team isn't up to
What are they
par.
doing?
Like, why aren't, yeah, they've invested in the two stars, but like, how can you not invest in the rest of the team? Like, how can you
I
look
I don't
at
know.
Brynhildsen? How can you scout him and think, yeah, that's going to be our guy? He's going to be our striker that we bring in, and he's going to, go crazy. How do you look at Spicer or Dominguez or
Right.
Corbin
Etienne Jr.
Corbineau,
Yeah.
Etienne Jr.?
Osorio.
Yeah, Osorio's been around forever. The defense is a complete dumpster fire. Like, what are they doing? What are you
I
doing?
I
It's
don't know.
terrible. It's
I don't know
terrible.
what they're doing.
Don't just do the They were the ones that did the transfer market thing, right? Or was that Chicago?
They no, they it was them. They did the thing. Their GM went and
Free
looked, and he's
agents.
like, "Yeah, who's out of contract? Who's good? Hey, these guys just won Euro 2020. They're probably pretty okay, right?
Yeah, yeah. Here's a bunch of money.
Yeah, here's like if he had done that 2 years prior, they might have had still something left in the
Yeah.
tank. I still think Bernadeschi's fine. Like I, he's expensive.
He just has no help.
Yeah, I if the rest of the team was built better, I think Bernadeschi would look better with people around him.
Yeah, could you imagine
But
Bernadeschi on, I don't know, New England? Like, think of him
it,
on the right with Carlos Hill next to him,
I could imagine Bernadeschi on almost any other team in this league, and he would be
and he
better.
would
Where,
be better. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
maybe barring like Austin, who I don't think have figured out how to get the ball
Hey,
up there.
hey, they won this weekend.
They did
Away.
win this weekend. You're right. They did. And guess what, Gavin? A broken clock is in fact correct. Not just once, but twice a day.
Twice a
Every day.
season in this instance.
Yeah. Unless it's like somehow you get like a 24-hour clock, which like I don't even know how that would work. In which case that clock would only be right once a day. But as far as I know, there's no 24-hour clock. It's like an analog clock. So are you trying to think of a way to disprove me?
No, no, I'm ready for the next team because
Oh,
I feel like Toronto. We've spent a little bit too much time on Toronto.
yeah. Okay. Okay. That's fair. All right. Well, the teams get a little bit better as we continue to go up in reverse.
Woohoo!
So, well, actually, hold on. So, final verdict. Toronto are
France,
we're putting them. Yeah. Okay.
France. No comeback happening this season.
Yep. Correct. Um, do you think it's safe to say that Toronto finished 14th in the East? Do you think there's any
Ooh,
hope that like
I
Montreal could find some way to usurp their spot?
well, I'm actually thinking of a team above them falling deeper than them. So
That would require Toronto to win matches, though.
yeah, that would also require this other team to continue losing matches. So we'll talk about them in a minute. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Minute or
no.
two. Interesting. Interesting. Okay. Okay. Well, we're gonna keep this in mind because I'll be interested when we get through, the teams outside the playoff line. I'm gonna ask you to figure out if they're rightly outside of it, but we'll get that in a little bit. So
Yep.
Atlanta's sitting, holding on in 13th right now. Now we get a little bit tighter in terms of getting maybe closer to the playoff conversation. We're not super close yet, but Atlanta sit on 17 points. The line right now is at 25. So I mean they're 3 wins away against the right sort of teams. And I mean, losing streaks aren't uncommon in MLS. So for them, still very much a possibility, but they've got to turn it on soon, like very soon, like starting probably in these next few matches, because if they drop any more points past say like match day 20 to 22, I would start to think maybe uh, they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, and here's the thing with Atlanta. I know we're kind of talking about the season that they've had, but coming up, they have, I'm pretty sure, 5 away games coming up. I think they had
Yeah.
6 in a row in this streak.
Mhm.
So this is a
I think
brutal run for them
they
coming up.
are, I'm assuming, in a similar spot as FC Cincinnati, where FC Cincinnati are basically away the entire month of June because TQL is being used for Club World Cup. I
Yep.
think I think Mercedes Benz is also being used for Club World Cup. So
Yep. So they
yeah,
are not, they are
agree.
away from home.
Yeah, they are. I'm looking. The next time they are playing at home is July 16th.
Yeah. So,
So yeah, it's five matches, Gavin. They'll be on the road.
well, they were just on
And
the road against Red Bulls. So it's
well,
6
yes, I
total,
okay,
but they've got 5 upcoming.
correct.
So,
And they are New York City FC, Columbus, Miami, DC United, Toronto. Like Gavin, you would hope like DC United and Toronto are winnable matches for Atlanta, but are are they beating New York City, Columbus, or Miami right now? I don't
probably
think
not.
so.
They might sneak one, but probably not. I think for me, this team is interesting to talk about compared to the other two, just because of where they were at heading into the season, expectations wise. You know,
Hmm.
they spent the MLS transfer record on Latte Loth. They brought back Almiron, who obviously lit up the league when he was last here. Um, they got in Matthias Clich, who was a DP who they weren't spending a DP slot on. You know, DC aren't looking great this season, but they look pretty smart with that transfer right now, getting him off the team. I mean, Clich hasn't been great for Atlanta. And so, you know, all the hype going into the season, it feels like it happens every season. But this season in particular was pretty big, and it just hasn't worked for them. To find yourself in 13th place, they had their worst start ever since becoming a professional soccer team. And it's just been the season from hell, really, thus far. And it feels like every time they win a game, they just kind of sneak it. Like I just said, like that's how it feels like they're going to win. Against Orlando, they snuck it. Against Cincinnati, it feels like they snuck it. And those are their two latest wins. And it's like, yeah, they're not going to put any sort of run together. I don't see them sneaking into the playoffs. The East is too strong this year.
Yeah. I think the East is pretty strong this year, and here's the other part of it, Gavin. We talk a lot about how they spent all this money on the offense, right? All these names that you just listed. It's like, yes, offense, offense, offense. Name me a defensive player for them other than Brooks Lennon.
I'd say Gregerson, but he's never available. So they're stuck with Abram, who's not good. They're stuck with Williams, who's not good. And I can't think of anyone else.
Cobb,
Oh, Cobb, yeah.
you know, Hernandez, Morales. But like, look, I mean, point being, right?
They're all so
Yeah,
average.
like how again, you look at these guys aside from Brooks Lennon, and you're just like, which of these guys are you starting on a playoff team?
I think the only other guy who may be a starter on a playoff team, but he'd be like the fourth starter, like in the back four. He would be like, if we could upgrade on him, I would think is Amador, Pedro Amador. Other than that, they need a whole backline reshuffle. The only way I could see them like totally like going on a run this year is, you know, there is a transfer window. So they bring in a really good center back, and Gregerson gets fit, and they figure out the defense, and they have some sort of solidity back there to give them a platform to have fun on offense. But like,
Even if they solve the defense, though, Gavin, like, how's the ball getting to your offense? They don't have a midfield either.
yeah, it would literally be long ball and win the second ball and hope.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just there's there's a lot of cracks in this roster that
Yep.
got papered over by optimism of an incredible front line, and it has not panned out the way we thought. And I don't think Dyla is the right coach for Atlanta, but I also don't think that Dyla has players that would make his or really any coach make their job easy. Like, there's flaws.
I feel like they need a more pragmatic coach who will like focus first on defensive solidity, and then hope that the offense can, you know,
Well, have I got
have the
good news for
quality
you,
to create
Gavin?
something.
This may come as a shock to you, but there was recently a defense focused coach who was let go from a team in the Western Conference.
Oh, really? Who could that
Yeah.
have been?
Which, despite being a defense oriented coach, I think they also still faced the most number of shots
Oh
on
yeah,
target.
his
So,
defensive tactics weren't great.
not great.
So maybe not the best idea to sign Melberg.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, just one other thing I
Frauds,
want to throw your way.
definitely frauds.
Agree, definitely frauds. So, we we talked about standings, right? They're sitting in 13th. Was Atlanta the team that you're thinking could drop down lower?
I'm
Or do
gonna
you think they're
tell him
staying in 13th?
I'm gonna tell myself it was not Atlanta, so you probably know who I thought
Oh,
it was. Um,
I can guess.
yeah. So it was not Atlanta, so we can keep moving up the table. I
Okay.
could see them moving up to 12th or even as high as 11th if they go on a run. But I don't see playoffs in their future this season.
No, I don't see it either. And I want to ask you while we're on the topic, many of us had Atlanta as top two, top three, top four finishers in the East. Are Atlanta the biggest disappointment Eastern Conference team this year?
Okay, you are. I was about to say, come on, LA Galaxy.
No,
Um,
Eastern
Eastern
Conference team.
Conference, the biggest disappointment. They have to be. Yeah, yeah. I think that's simple. They have to be. Like across the East, there's no other team that is underperforming as drastically as Atlanta are.
Okay.
I
I'm
think
gonna
they're also
ask
the
you,
biggest surprise. Even with Philadelphia in first, I think Atlanta being this low is the biggest surprise.
interesting. Would not have picked Atlanta as the biggest surprise being this low, but
Okay.
I actually have some thoughts as to some
Well, okay,
teams
let
that
me
might be
rethink
bigger
that.
surprise.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some good ones.
I might
Some
have a slightly bigger surprise.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think we'll have some good ones later. But
Okay.
all right, we're gonna keep on moving onward and upward in this case. So DC United right above Atlanta. Gavin, was this your team? Was this your card, Gavin? Did I
Yeah.
finally get it right after multiple
Yeah.
guesses?
It's not recency bias, I promise. I know they just got smacked 7-1 by Chicago at home. Uh,
Yeah,
but no, they've been dreadful this season. The fact that they have 18 points is a scam, in all honesty. I think in another season, this team is down with Montreal. I think this team finishes 14th.
that's that's quite the assertion. Again, I say that because Toronto exists and
Mm-hmm.
is 5 points behind them.
Mm-hmm. And I know they have Benteke, and I know Benteke has been in and
He is
out
the
this
only
season.
reason. He's the only reason that they will get any wins this season.
Yeah. They're not making playoffs.
No.
It's brutal for Benteke. I feel bad for him. He should honestly force a move.
Who okay, who do you think like Columbus is the easy choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we're gonna say like who do you think could make a move for Benteke and like have a reasonable case to bring him in?
Mm.
Look, I mean Columbus is your easy answer because they desperately, desperately need a striker. And literally any of the strikers in the league would be an upgrade over what they have right now.
Yep.
But I think, I don't know if he fits Nancy's system. So who do you think, though, he could go to and actually slot in and make sense if you exclude Columbus? And I still am not convinced that he would be a good fit for Columbus.
Excluding Columbus. I feel like we
Right.
talked about this recently. I
Well,
don't remember
we
who
is
I
a strong
said.
term
I feel like we did.
because
I'm
I
trying to
can
think
tell
of
you
like
we
styles of
definitely
play as
talked.
well.
We definitely talked about Olivier Giroud.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. I know we talked about him to Columbus, but I thought we did this with
Right.
Benteke earlier this season. Benteke. Um, I'm trying to think of teams that cross a lot, play on the wings, put the ball
Dang, it's like you're
in.
describing Brooks Lennon for Atlanta.
Yeah, but they have Latte Loth, so it wouldn't make sense.
Well, is Latte Loft doing much for them?
No, no, he's not. Not at the moment. I don't know, Seattle? I feel like they go up the wings quite a bit.
Actually, be quite interesting.
Benteke in a Seattle shirt
That would be
with like
really
Ferreira
interesting.
underneath him,
Yeah,
or
and
just Ferreira out of
Ferreira.
the team.
I Here's the thing. Honestly, I think if you put Ferreira underneath Benteke, that would maybe be the only way I could see Ferreira making sense for them.
Yeah. So
Just because like
Seattle,
he can do physical work. Benteke is not going to do what that underlying false nine
yeah.
is going to do.
The other team I thought of, and it would be harsh on Campana, but New England was the other team I thought of. I think he would feast in New England.
I agree with that. Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be a great
but
signing.
I mean, Campana's been injured a couple times too, so like.
Yeah, I just feel bad because he went to Miami and then he got
Mhm,
Suarez. Then he would get
mhm,
Benteke. That would suck.
right. I mean, he would still definitely play though. Like
Yeah.
Benteke's not going to go 90 minutes every single match between here and the end of the season.
No,
Honestly,
I
like
mean
he would
he's
probably do better if he wasn't going 90 every single match. Like if you put Benteke in for like 45 or 60 every match.
yeah, he's been so in and out this season, Benteke. So other than Benteke, I mean, defensively, the reason I say this is
Mhm.
because defensively, DC United are atrocious.
Yeah,
Atrocious.
a lot of atrocious teams in the East for good reason. They're all atrocious defenses, and they're sitting in 12, 13, 14, 15, respectively.
But like you let Bartlow score a hat trick on you.
Um,
That's
we
just me being recency bias. But like
we said they're not good.
I've seen a lot of DC this season, and like they are giving up a lot of chances. A lot of
Yeah,
chances. Teams aren't always taking them against them, but they're giving up a lot of chances.
Gavin, I would like to present this statement for your consideration.
Okay.
Sent to the group chat by David. Says, guys, DCU needs to be sold.
Yeah. I mean, sure, why not? If your team is doing terrible, the owner
For
needs to
this long.
sell for this long. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's
It
ups and
took
downs,
them
but
it took them how long to sack Ben Olsen when
10 years.
he years and years and years of under delivering. And what kept him around? Just an Open Cup, right? They won an Open Cup one year, and that kept him 8 years too long. Um, and then now they've. Do they still have Lassane?
Nah, yeah,
No.
yes.
Is Lassane still their head coach?
Yeah, and I think Troy Lesesne is still their head coach.
Yes, he is. I don't know how you're still sticking with him. He didn't do it
I,
in New York. Now he's here. He's not doing it here. It's the same thing with Hernan Lasada. Like they stuck with him for a bit.
I I think he did better in New York than you gave him credit for, though.
Lassane?
Yeah, I mean, Lesesne had Red Bulls go on a bit of a run there at the end of the season, and then they
Well,
fizzled.
well, yeah. This one, DC, is not working.
Yeah, well, but DC's terribly built roster.
Yeah, that's fair.
I to reiterate David's point though, and I agree with him. I think the whole thing needs to go.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Ownership, front office, manager. Lesane will land on his feet and get another coaching job somewhere else. But yeah, DC needs a full reset.
Just like looking at their squad, there's not much that excites me. I know they brought in Barajas on loan. That was at the time something that looked like it was going to be pretty good for them, but he hasn't been able to oust Gabriel Pirani, who Gabriel Pirani ain't it. He's one good game, four average games. So since Barajas can't get past that, that's pretty rough. Randall Leao, we haven't really seen much of him this season. Dombaji, he's Dombaji. We all know that. Ateke's been in and out. I mean, my favorite player off the roster this season's been Schnegg at left back. He hasn't. I've liked what Schnegg has done at left back, but like, yikes. Yeah, it's just been a rough season, and their defense is just as bad as Atlanta's. So,
yeah,
if not worse.
That's an interesting question. Who do you think out of all the teams, Montreal, Toronto, Atlanta, DC United, put in order from worst defense at the top to best defense at the bottom?
Worst defense at the top to best defense at the bottom?
Yeah.
I would have DC's defense as the worst out of those four, personally. I think their defense is terrible. Terrible. It's not. I promise it's not just the 7 goals. They could have won the last game, and I would have been saying that. I don't think their goalkeeper is very good. I don't. Their center backs are very good. I like their left back, and that's it. So,
okay, this may come as a shock to you, Gavin. Atlanta, I like their left back. I think he's quite good. I don't like their center backs. I don't like the right back. Guzan is Guzan, right? But
yeah.
like, it was obvious that it was time to move past Guzan probably about 4 years ago. So
yeah, I would probably put Montreal next, and then Atlanta, and then Toronto.
That is a hot take.
Maybe it's because I've seen Toronto do somewhat decent defensively at times this season, so maybe I'm just like capturing those pictures in my brain. But DC worst, Montreal, Toronto, Atlanta. No. What am I saying? Worst to best, right?
Yeah,
Gosh,
put the worst
like backwards. Okay,
Gotta
so I
keep you
think
honest
DC
here.
have the worst defense.
Okay.
Then I think
And
it's Montreal have the second worst defense.
Okay.
Then I think it's Atlanta. Then I think it's Toronto. So out of those 4 teams, I think Toronto have the best defense.
I would agree with that statement.
Okay.
In that Toronto have the best of the worst defenses.
Okay.
I might I might personally switch Atlanta and Montreal.
Yeah, you could convince me,
Yeah.
but okay, I'm gonna stick with it. But I see what you're
Okay.
saying.
All right.
Frauds.
Frauds. Yep. Agree. Frauds. Oof. Wow. All right. Well, these are the easy ones, Gavin. We
They
now move
were.
into we move into the slightly more challenging to predict territory, and I don't know how challenging these next two will be. But we go to number 11. It's New England. New England Revolution. They sit 2 points out of a playoff spot right now. So we went from being 7 points outside with DC United, we're 2 points outside with New England. They actually have played only 15 matches. Fun fact. So multiple
Interesting.
games in hand.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it doesn't. The games in hand mean nothing until you've converted those into points. But I'm just saying the potential exists.
Yep. Yeah, I've said it before recently. I've been impressed with them uh, over these past 6 or 7 games. Ever since they really switched their formation, and they've kind of just gone on a run, and they haven't lost in a while. I know they're only on 15 games, but yeah, they've been. I think they've been pretty impressive with this new change. So for me, I would have them as a fierce. I would have them as a contender to make the playoffs. It's going to be hard to
Yes,
break into the top 7. So for me, they are an 8 or a 9 slot.
I agree with you that they are an 8 or a 9 slot. What I would go even further to say, Gavin, is I think it's going to be hard to even break into the 8 or 9 slot.
I think it will be difficult. Yeah, the East is tough, but I think they are good enough to where they will be one of those teams fighting to in the play-in game.
Who do they knock out though? Is my question.
Who do they
Because
knock out?
I think like it's pretty obvious, right? Like Philadelphia is staying in. Miami is staying in. Nashville's staying in. Cincinnati's probably staying in just by nature of how many points they have right now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they stay anywhere near where they are, but we'll get to them later. Columbus, I think are going to make it. New York Red Bulls could drop into the 8 to 9 spot, I think.
But not 10.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that.
I
But
don't think
here's the
Red Bulls are
thing.
dropping to 10.
But here's the thing. 8, 9, and 10 are all on 20.
For me, this is going to sound crazy. It's hard to pick which team. I guess it would be Red Bulls, but I don't think it'd be them or Charlotte.
Charlotte could be a good
Like,
because and I think you and I will probably share some opinions on why Charlotte could be one of those teams, but I've
yeah.
definitely soured on Charlotte lately.
Yep. Yep. I think Charlotte would be a candidate to drop out of the top 9 out of the current teams.
Okay.
I guess you
Okay.
could say Orlando City as well. I don't see it, but Orlando City. But for me, Charlotte is my pick. I do think New England's a top 9 team though. They had that terrible start to the season, and they are trying to play catch up. They've pretty much played catch up to this point, up to 15 games. Now they've got 2 games in hand, and I mean, if they get a win and a draw, that
They're
gets them on
yeah,
27 points. They're in. They kick
they're in the
out
conversation.
Chicago.
Yeah, well, that'll we'll get to Chicago in a
Yes, we
second.
will.
Yeah. We'll talk about them.
So we'll see.
I
We'll see
cannot
what happens.
wait to talk about them.
I know. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens. But yeah, New England are. I think they're a competent team. Um,
Yeah, which is
Harder to beat
crazy.
nowadays.
Yeah, crazy compared to where they started the season. So,
Yeah, for sure.
do you think that they have an identity?
I think they have a formation.
Okay.
I think they have a formation. I don't capture an identity, whereas it's like we're a gritty, defensive, hard to beat team, or
Hmm.
we're a free flowing attacking team, or we are tiki taka. No. I think they just landed on a formation that gets their
Gets their
most
best players on the
threatening
field.
players on the field and in spots where they can create goals and they can stop goals from happening. I don't think their defense is amazing. I don't think their attack is amazing, but they kind of like cancel it out. Like they focus, I think they do a good job as a team of like focusing on defense and then focusing on attack. But like when I say I don't think their defense is amazing, I mean like players. I think like as a team, I think they defend well enough. Um, but I don't think their individual players are like star-studded, all-star caliber defenders per se.
That's fair.
So yeah, I think
I
they're
think
just
that's a
a solid team. They're just a team,
yeah, just some dudes, just guys being dudes.
and they found their formation. They're three at the back. I think it's 3-5-2 or 3-4-2-1. It's three at the back, something.
Yeah, it's three at the back, which they desperately needed because
Mm-hmm.
they were emerging goals at the start of
Yes,
the season,
yes.
and now they're on a positive goal difference. So
Don't they have one of the best defenses in the league technically when it comes to goals conceded?
well, so
It's like them in Austin or something.
yes, yeah, because they've allowed 14 goals, which is the best in the East.
Okay. Well, I bet
But
Vancouver's got less than them.
yeah, but
Vancouver's had a great defense.
yeah, Vancouver has allowed 12,
Okay. Yeah.
but
But
they have not been able to consistently produce offensive
a
performances.
lot of draws, a lot of zeros on the board for them.
Yeah, I I think they cap out at ninth. It's my guess.
That's so hard. I think you're right. In a different season, they're like sixth.
Yeah,
In a different season, they're like sixth or fifth. They're up there. I think the East is just so freaking good this year.
this might be the best Eastern Conference we have seen.
I think so. So far, it has been. Columbus Crew sitting in fifth right now. Criminal.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at like who in the West do you think when you look at some of these sides beats where some of these Eastern teams are sitting? Like
Like, do you mean like direct comparison, like first to first, second to second? Or do you just mean in general?
I would say just like in general, right? Like if you took sides from the East and threw them into the West, like I think most of them perform better than where they sit right now in the
Oh,
East. Like for instance, if you took, I don't know, Chicago and put them in the West, they're going way higher than ninth.
they're comfortably around Minnesota and San Diego in second.
Yeah, I think they would be a top four side based on how they're playing right now. I mean, look, they've really turned it around, similar to
Mm-hmm.
what New England have done. So, but we can't talk about Chicago yet as much as we want to. We got to talk about another team between them and New England. But first, Gavin, New England, we're calling them
Fierce. I've got
fierce.
them
Okay,
fierce, man.
okay, all right, very good. Well, I will slightly agree with you. I lean fierce, but I'm not as strongly sitting on it as you. New York City FC, 10th place, 25 points.
Man,
I I think Gavin, they sit in just about exactly where they deserve.
I think so. Yeah,
I don't think they are fierce or frauds. I think they are fair.
they're fair. I like
Yeah.
fair. That's a good word for it. Um, I don't think they're gonna be. I don't think they're gonna break through to the playoffs. Personally,
Yeah. Too many things on this New York City team require certain players to just be going off right now.
yeah.
And
Oh,
it's not sustainable.
I think Alonso Martinez would literally have to hit like 30 goals for them to make the playoffs, and he could do it. I mean, with the volume of chances he gets, he could do it. He's been missing a lot recently, but if he hits
Hmm.
like a confidence streak where he's hitting the ball cleanly every single time and it's just flying in the back of the net, and he hits 28, 29, 30 goals, like yeah, maybe they sneak their way in ninth place and someone
They
who
also
deserves
might
to be
not.
there. Yeah, sure. Uh,
Remember, Christian Benteke, I think, won the Golden Boot last year.
he did. What do you have, like 24, 25, something like
Yeah,
that?
and where did DC finish in relation to the playoff line?
Nowhere. Well, no, they were close, weren't they? I
they,
was gonna
they
say
were
nowhere
close,
close.
but they were below it.
They were below it. Yep. Yep. It's a brutal league. NYCFC haven't impressed me this season. Obviously, they're in 10th, so they weren't supposed to impress me. I like expectations going in. I don't think they were. They looked like they were going to. We've talked
Yeah,
about it already. Losing not Santiago Moreno, Santiago Rodriguez. Um, Losing him was a big, big loss for this team, and I don't know that they're gonna. I don't know if they're gonna bring someone in the summer window. But even if they do, is he gonna be good enough, quick enough to turn this team around?
yeah. I don't have an
If
answer.
yeah, if not, there, I think there's gonna be an average team. Like
I,
just looking across the team, they're just like an average team as it is right
yeah,
now.
And I think if you take an average team in any given year of MLS, average teams usually make the playoffs.
Hmm.
Just this specific year, they won't,
Yeah, exactly.
which is, again, just in. I'm looking at the points, right? Historically, 1.4 has been the cutoff. There's 11 teams in the East sitting above 1.4 points per game right
It's
now.
insane. It's insane.
Like, and
Um,
1.4 was the cutoff for seventh place historically.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it just,
And teams are going to keep it up. Like they're just good
yeah,
teams. It's not like that's not going to happen.
yeah. New York City will beat teams and they will be beaten by teams, but like they're gonna win games. They're gonna lose games. They're like a very middle of the road average team,
Their
which
attackers are
is
average, except for Martinez. Their
yeah.
midfield is average, except for Parks, and their defense is average, except for no one. Matt Freese. We'll say Matt Freese is above average.
Yeah, he is above average. I think Matt Freese would probably be the most valuable player on that team if you had to transfer someone because I think there are
Oh
other
well, it'd be
good
Martinez.
attackers. No, no, no. There's other good attackers in this league, but a good goalkeeper. How many teams would Matt Freese be an upgrade for?
A few, quite a few. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a
How
very
many
important
teams?
position.
Oh, super important. How many teams would Martinez be an upgrade for? Like an out and out, like locked in upgrade? Some.
I think a lot. Well, not a lot.
Some.
I think he would be an upgrade for over a third of the league, for over
Yes.
10 teams.
I think Freese would be an upgrade for over half the league, though.
Be an upgrade for DC.
He'd be an upgrade for D. Yeah, just real quick, right? Be an upgrade for Montreal, upgrade for Toronto, upgrade for Atlanta, upgrade for DC, upgrade for New England. I don't know if he'd be an upgrade for Chicago. I don't know if he'd be an
I've
upgrade for
liked
Charlotte.
Brady. I've liked
Yeah,
Brady this
I've
season.
really liked Brady lately.
Kalina's been in poor form, so maybe
Maybe historically, I don't think he would be, but recently he would be.
recent. Yeah.
I think he'd be an upgrade for Orlando. I think he'd be an upgrade for Coronel, but only slightly. Coronel's had some really good performances, but they're not consistently good.
Yeah, they wouldn't pay for Freeze when they have Cornell.
Right. Like it would be like a very minimal upgrade.
Yep.
I think he'd be an upgrade for Columbus.
Really?
Yeah.
Over Schulte?
I think he'd be an upgrade over Schulte.
Okay.
I mean, Freese is in U.S. men's national team conversation
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
and more so than Schulte is.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I think he'd be an upgrade over Willis in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly be an upgrade at Miami.
Gosh, yes. Okay,
He'd
so we've
be
listed
a
almost
lot of
all the teams
teams.
in the
Yeah,
East.
he'd be an upgrade in Cincinnati as well.
Not Philly, though.
Yeah, not right now.
No.
He would be more available though.
He was
I
in
like.
Philly. That's
Yeah,
right. He was in Philly.
yeah. I mean, like honestly, thinking about it, I think he'd be an upgrade for probably 2/3 of the league.
Yeah, probably. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
There we go. This is the Matt Freese Truth podcast now.
Love you,
We're
Matt.
Freese, yeah, Freese truthers here.
Yeah. The rest of the squad, though, extremely average.
Yeah,
Disappointing squad build.
that's been so much of NYC though.
Mm-hmm.
I just I think of NYC as like they're like a prototypical. If you follow the NFL, they're very much like an NFC team. It's like
I
there's
agree with
no
that.
huge gigantic star. They're just trying to like make the whole team vibe. Except they didn't build any good player in the position. Like you got like a bunch of like top 30 guys in the league. But the problem is if you're gonna have the whole team be good, you need like top 15 guys.
Frauds for me.
Yeah, I would agree.
Fair. Actually, we said fair, but
Yeah, fair. If I had to pick fraud or fierce, it'd be fraud. But agree. Yeah, third category officially established fair. I
fair.
think 10th
Okay.
is spot on where they need to be.
Yep.
They are better than DC United, Atlanta, Toronto, and Montreal. They are not better than any of the teams above. All right, Gavin, we've hit. It's the playoff line, right? We've
Yep.
bumped our heads into the ceiling of the playoff line. So let's just briefly walk through it. New England, you think, is the only team unfairly below the playoff line. Everyone else you think deserves to be where they are
I think
or
so.
deserves to be in like this bracket.
Yeah, I think New England are the team that can say we've done pretty good for ourselves, and to find ourselves 11th feels pretty harsh, honestly. So yeah, I would say New England, but like we also said, they are 2 to 3 games behind a lot of teams. So
Hmm.
they may just
Still have
jump
to win
right
those
up.
games, though.
They got to win those games. Yep. They could win one and lose one and be in the playoffs.
They could. They
So
could lose both and not be in the playoffs.
yes, they could. Yeah. So we'll
Who
see.
does New England play? Hold on.
I think I saw that they
Let's
play
find
you
out.
guys. I think they play Cincinnati as one of their next two.
Yeah, their next two. This weekend they host Cincinnati. Great time to be hosting Cincinnati, who are in
Mm-hmm.
horrific form right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you guys also
And they
DC.
well, and they also then host Nashville, who are in really good form right now. So,
Yep. But
and
they're
then they
beatable.
host, yeah, they are beatable, but I would favor Nashville. And they host Colorado at the end of the month, and I think Colorado is very winnable for New England.
Yes.
Colorado is one of those teams where it's like they're gonna either show up and drop four on you, or they're going to show up and you're gonna drop four on them.
Especially away from home. I
Yeah,
feel like Colorado away from home going to the Eastern Conference, that just feels like a win for New England that game.
Colorado's been poor away from home this season.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. I think New England should from the from these next three matches, I think New England could very reasonably expect 6 or 7 points.
Yeah. Cincinnati will be tough, but we'll see. So yeah, New England.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We're gonna tiptoe in, Gavin. Talking, dipping our toes about the away and wild card slots here on the playoff line. So ninth, I'm going to call them frauds, but only because I think they should be much higher. They're
Okay.
frauds for ninth, right? Chicago, who, yeah, they will not stay ninth for long, especially not the way they're playing right now. Sitting in ninth, there's 25 points. They're tied with Charlotte, who also sit on 25 points, but they're losing the tiebreaker between the two teams. So Chicago sitting in ninth. Has Greg Berhalter cracked the code? Is he actually just a really solid club coach and maybe he just never was cut out for the national team?
Well, he's always been a solid club coach. Yeah, maybe he just wasn't cut out for the national team. Although he performed better than Pochettino is currently performing for the national team.
Yeah,
So,
fair, fair.
I mean, at the end of the reign, not so much with the what was that tournament that ended up getting him fired?
Well, it
Copa
was
America.
one of yeah. What's it called?
We got grouped in the Copa America here in the United States.
Well, I'll say this. I think some of that's he's been done in by the players as well because I
Yeah,
think Pochettino's discovering
I
that
think
with some of the
Weah.
players.
I think
Yeah,
Weah got a red card in one
yep,
of the group
way up.
games,
He sure did. That
and
one
that
hurt.
that one hurt. We ended up losing and against the team we were expecting to beat, and so
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's all history. He is coaching some of the best soccer in the league right now, and Chicago's midfield interchange and connectedness. I talked about it last time I was on, but the midfield moves and the ball just lands perfectly to where they moved. Like they look extremely well coached. They have designed plays to get out of pressure. They get out of that pressure. They create dangerous opportunities. I think it was the Jonathan Bamba goal against DC. If you go and watch that goal, it's just a long ball out of defense, right? And I think it's Bartlow and the ball drops perfectly for Bartlow. That's not by mistake. That's by design. They've practiced that over and over and over again because Kuipers does the same exact move where it drops right in front of the defense, and the defender either has to foul Kuipers, and in this instance, Bartlow, or let him trap the ball. And in this instance, the defenders let him get the ball. He lays it off, and then all of a sudden there's like 3 players right there, and they play Bamba through, and Bamba goes on and scores. So like, go watch it. It is the most scripted play ever, and it's like that's Chicago right now. They're just so well coached. so enjoyable to watch. And if they keep this up, they are one of the best teams in the league and they will shoot up the rankings as they
Yeah.
are doing right now.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in really good form lately. Gavin, pop quiz. Do you know how many matches this season Chicago has been held to 0 goals scored?
0 goals
Yep.
scored.
How many times were they kept off the board?
I know Orlando did it once, so I'm going to go like twice.
Correct. Yeah, it was only teams in Florida. Funny enough,
Miami and
Orlando and
Orlando.
Miami are the
Yep.
only teams to hold Chicago goalless.
And Chicago missed like easily 2 xg worth of chances in the game against Orlando, and then they got a red card, and that's one of the games where they put up 0. So, a little context there.
Yeah. Well, either way, I mean, really impressive
Mm-hmm.
because
I
I
like the I
mean,
like the frauds that they're too low. I like that.
yeah, they are too low right now based on how they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Based on earlier in the season, they were having growing pains at earlier points in the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they got wins over some fraud teams. They got a win over Toronto. They got a win over Dallas, right? They got beat 7-2 by Nashville. They drew Orlando. And so you're looking at that and like some of those things in there, they drew 0-0 against Miami. So like if you're looking in that stretch, in like that April to May stretch, you're like, well, they lost to Red Bulls who, are Red Bulls and not great right now. They got 0 against Miami, lost to Cincinnati, 7-2 lost to Nashville, draw 0-0 to Orlando. And then they just start to turn it on.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Something
yeah, and
definitely clicked with like the coaching and whatnot, and they've looked
absolutely.
amazing.
I'm really interested to see what they do this weekend against Nashville.
They're gonna be looking for revenge, bro.
They
That's gonna
are.
be
And
a fun game.
here's an incredible stat. Are you ready for this, Gavin?
Yeah.
Can you guess how many wins Chicago have at home this season?
I know they have like, is it one?
One.
I
They
know
have
they have one.
one
Yeah.
home win this season.
Yeah.
Do you know how many away wins they have this
the
season?
rest. The rest. They've been insane on the road.
Yeah.
I don't know, like
Six
7.
wins. Yeah,
Yeah.
6 wins on the road.
Yeah. Incredible.
Yeah. They are they're putting up numbers on
That's
the
the only
road.
thing stopping them from being like a top 4 team, honestly, is their home form.
Yeah.
Gotta get that
Like
up.
and if they can get it up, then yeah, I agree. Like they will push for that 4 or 5 spot. I don't know if they'll push for the 3 spot just because I think there's a few teams that are going to make a really good late season push and they just have a little bit more ground that they've already got
Yep.
over Chicago. But
I agree.
yeah, I mean they'll be in the conversation. It's not impossible that they could push for third. I mean, this league does weird things, but yeah,
I'll just say this. We are going to learn a lot about Chicago over this next 4 game stretch.
mhm.
Home against Nashville, home against Philly, home against Charlotte, away against Cincinnati. That's a tough stretch of games.
Yeah, I would agree that that's a tough stretch. I think they can get 6 or I hate to say 6 or 7 points, right? But I think they can get 6 or 7 points because right now the way Charlotte are playing, they should beat Charlotte. And right now
They
the way
should.
Cincinnati are playing, they should beat Cincinnati.
Yeah,
And
but it's
I
in Cincinnati.
it's in Cincinnati and that has not stopped Cincinnati from throwing away
That's true.
leads and being terrible at home.
Yep.
And they're again, Cincinnati I think are in like a weird not quite a tailspin, but they're faltering. So
Mm-hmm.
the month of June and July will be a great time to play Cincinnati. It's honestly, I think it's Nashville is the only one that I have questions on because I think Philadelphia will win at Chicago.
I could see that being a win or a draw. I could see that being a draw. Like a 2-2, something like that. 1-1.
Yeah,
Philly hasn't
yeah.
been automatic on the road. They've been
They
good.
haven't.
They haven't been
Yeah,
automatic.
I mean they are 5-2-1. They've only lost twice on the road.
All right. Who's next?
Well, Charlotte's gonna be next.
Mm,
Gavin, do you dare say it? Are they frauds?
they're so hard because they started so strong
Mhm.
and they've fallen off a cliff, man.
It
They've been in
they have.
terrible form.
The system that they are playing does not make any sense at all for the players that they have in the attack,
Yeah,
and it's starting to show.
I'm definitely worried about them. Like it, this you're right. The system, it feels more like their goals come from quality, player quality of Pep Biel, Zaha, Ajamang, than it comes from the system creating chances for their best players. So
Yep.
yeah, I'm worried for them. I think right now they're fair. I think they're where they should be. They had a strong start. They've had a really rough last month and a half. So eighth place, right in the middle of the league, like that's fair. I I I can't help but see them continuing to fall, and not because of anything other than the other teams are just a little bit stronger than them and they're not able to keep up with these other teams. Like they might be
I
a
would
team that finishes with 1.4 that average or 1.3, 1.4, but they just don't have it enough to get over the line for the playoffs. I could see something like that happening to them this season.
I agree with you that they're not going to have enough to get over the line, and here's why. They are, in theory, on the U22 initiative model. I pulled up their roster
Mhm.
build.
Mhm.
Both DP spots are filled. 3 of your U22 spots are filled. And then they've got, 6 guys sitting on TAM contracts, which is pretty standard for the league, right? What I question is, where are you bringing in a difference maker? Because the only person that I can really look at, or the only slot I can really look at right now, is those U22 slots. And summer is a tough time to go out and find one of those U22 players that would actually impact your team in this league,
Yeah.
because that's when all the other really, really big clubs are looking at those young guys. And so like if your options, if you're at that age and your options are, well, you can go to MLS or maybe one of these really big clubs because they're in their summer window, which is a little bit longer. I think you might just wait out your options.
Yeah. I feel like they could use another creative attacker. Like I feel like the person I look at in their attack is Abada, and he's been decent this season. I'm not saying that he's like been terrible, but I think with the way that they play, like I said earlier, they rely on creativity from individuals. And Abada is not someone who's out there who's going to create goals. He's going to score goals. He's going to be on the end of the creativity, but you can't have Ajimang as your striker and also have Abada. And so I think the difference maker would have to be a replacement for Abada. And Abada moves to the bench, or you move him on to a different team in the league. He gets sold, and all's well that ends well. I think that's the area of the team I want to see improve is another creative attacker in that right slot.
And I just don't know if they do that in the summer.
No, they don't.
And
You're right.
and even if they bring someone in to do that, I don't know if I trust the system to enable that player to be able to perform that role consistently.
Yeah, I mean it would be interesting because BL is usually on that right side as well. So I bet that could help them bed in if BL is injury free and he's on the right. Zaha's on the left taking attention. Ajamang, who's been up and down this season, um, Ajamang's up there doing his thing. I think it could work honestly pretty quickly, but again, it would be an individual talent thing.
Yeah. And I think you would have to also see a change in the way that Charlotte positions their midfield.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, someone like Zaha, he has to come back pretty far to receive the ball.
Yes, yes, he
And
gets
that's not,
impatient.
yeah, and
He
that's
gets marked
not,
out of the game.
yeah. it's not going to be effective for Zaha. And if you get a really creative person, right, and you can't get the ball to them, or when you do, they have to go 2/3 the length of the field. Doesn't matter how creative you are.
Unless you're Messi, level
Yeah,
creative.
unless you're Messi,
You can
right?
just dribble the whole field. But
Right. Or I mean, we've seen Lucho do it too. Lucho did
yeah,
it against Charlotte
yeah,
to win goal of the year that one time. So I
yeah.
mean, but Lucho's in Dallas, and I don't think Charlotte's bringing him in. So
I don't. Yeah, I don't think Dallas letting him go.
yeah, I don't know. Maybe they would.
Maybe
Who knows? Okay,
Abada.
so
Sorry, my friend.
yeah, so Charlotte's sitting in eighth. You're calling them fair,
Fair, fair, but I think
fair
they're gonna
leaning
drop.
fraud.
Yeah, yeah. I think they're gonna
Okay,
drop.
all right, I agree. Yeah, based on what I'm seeing right now, I think there's two teams that I think could drop. I think Charlotte's one of them. We'll cover the other one in a little bit, but not right now because Gavin, next we have to cover Orlando City.
My
I
boys, seventh.
I think I think Orlando City are safe to say that they're in a playoff spot. I don't think they exceed fifth place. And realistically, I don't think they exceed sixth. I think like the 6 to 8 spot is probably about right for Orlando. And you can tell me how off base I am. Outside perspective, right? You have guys like Ojeda who are making an impact, but like if Ojeda is the person making the biggest impact on your team, that is not a team that is winning a trophy.
Yeah, yeah,
You need like Atuesta has to be more available. He has to have a big impact for between now and the end of the season and into the postseason. And it can't just be Atuesta as well. You need more than that. And I don't know where that's coming from Orlando.
yeah. My one of my big worries for us is that we're gonna overplay our key players. We've been careful with Ojeda. Actually, we've been like managing him. Like he's been on the bench for a couple games already this early on into the season. But my biggest concern is Alex Freeman at right back. He's off with U.S. men's national team right now, and he's ever since he won the job, like first couple of games of the season, he's started and played almost every single minute. And so it's kind of like we're gonna overplay this kid. This is his first season. We're gonna overplay him. He's not gonna be as effective down the stretch. That's a big worry for me. I agree with you. I think 6 to 8 is probably the range. If we stay fit and we go on a run, maybe fifth, because we've shown recently that we can go on runs at the end of the season to put back to back to back wins together. But yeah, I think fifth to eighth, fifth being our ceiling for sure. We just have a couple too many bozo moments and too many poor defensive moments where we give up a penalty, or against Atlanta United, Araujo gets a random red card for no reason, and that game goes from a win to a loss. And Chicago, Chicago played us off the park because they were just the better team. So, but 2 L's in a row doesn't feel good at all. Um, and I think we're just going to see more of that this season, where it's like we go on a good run, or we have a good couple of games, and then we lose a couple games here and there, just the random games. So yeah, I don't I we're inconsistent. I don't see us breaking into the top four.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking ahead at your schedule, right? And you have I'm not going to call it a softball schedule, but I think you have a schedule that will give you a good idea of where you're going to fall in that, 5 to 8 range
Mm-hmm.
because you've got Colorado, that should be a winnable match for Orlando. St. Louis should be a winnable match for Orlando. Hosting Cincinnati, who again, they're in not good form right now. Like these are all very winnable matches. You have Charlotte, which Charlotte, you're at Charlotte. I think you could draw Charlotte. They're a different beast at home. I don't rate many teams to beat them. A draw against Charlotte would be fair. You've got Montreal. You've got New York City FC. Like there's some very winnable matches
Mm-hmm.
across these next 5, 6 matches.
Yep.
And I think if you get to say the end of July, go into Leagues Cup, and you're sitting on say you've picked up 15 points, you'd be sitting I mean, you'd be sitting in like the low 40s, and I think
We'd be
it's
doing pretty good.
reasonable. Yeah, I think it's reasonable to expect that you would pick that up. And if you do pick that up, then I think that that 5 spot is very attainable.
I can promise you, we're not getting 15 out of those
No,
games.
I agree with you. I don't
We're
think
probably
that's
getting
happening.
like
But
9 to 10.
which is like I I think that's why it's an indictment of why there's such a range of like 5 to 8, because on paper, right? There's some there's some games in there that you're just like, any team that expects to make the playoffs has to be winning those.
I agree with that. So yeah, I think seventh fair.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
fair.
I mean, it's like right in the middle of the range that we just said. So I feel like if I said anything other than fair for them sitting in the exact center of what we would expect, is it would be too harsh
Yeah.
to say they're frauds, and I think it'd be too generous to say fierce, because they certainly haven't been, not lately at least. Okay, now we've said all of this. Okay, important context for consideration here. Orlando City are 3 points off of second place.
Yeah, it's a tight group.
Yeah, that's just worth pointing out. 3 points off of second place. They're also 2 points off of 10th.
Oh man, if Orlando missed the playoffs this season, that would be the unthinkable.
Yeah,
We haven't
and
even thought about missing the playoffs as a club since like 2020. Like when we never made the playoffs. Now it's just like yeah, we're gonna make the playoffs. We have Oscar Pereja.
right.
So that would be insane.
I think you guys should expect to make the playoffs, but again, the East is so weird.
Yeah.
I rate some other teams to drop before you do, including this next one, which is New York Red Bulls, who also sit on 27 points. And I'm not gonna lie, Gavin, I I think they might be frauds.
Dude, I feel like I say this every season and they just figure out a way to make the playoffs. I don't know. They feel like frauds. Like I'm
They
right there with you.
they feel like frauds. Like, and it's gonna get weird because again, I've pulled up their schedule, right?
Mm.
And you look at it, and there's like a mixture of short term, their next 2 matches very winnable, and then they have just an incredible gauntlet of really hard matches right
Mm.
after that.
Okay, so we just gotta wait for them to like go on like a losing streak of 4 games.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean they've had a pretty gentle season, I would say, because who have they played so far? They've played Atlanta twice. They've played early season New England Revolution and didn't beat them.
Mm.
They've played Toronto just once. I think they played Toronto again towards the end of the year.
I know they played
Maybe they haven't.
Galaxy. I know they played
Yeah,
Montreal.
like they've had some winnable matches, and that's like they've got Austin, and then they've got Toronto. Okay, and then they've got Toronto again, and then they've got Minnesota and San Jose and Philadelphia, and then New England, who are doing a lot better. New England,
Yeah.
and then they've got Miami, and they've got Chicago, and then
Oof.
after Leagues
That
Cup,
is rough.
yeah, and then after Leagues Cup, they go, they host Salt Lake, and it's like, oh, this is gonna be easy, and then it's Philadelphia away at Charlotte, Columbus, Portland, who are in again a very weird
Portland
spot
are a
right
weird
now.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, again, there's some brutal stretches coming up for them.
Yeah, that's a long couple of months.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I don't know where they pick up lots of points from. Like, they'll pick up points in there, but I don't know how many.
Yeah, I think we could see them slide.
Yeah,
So I think you listing that out makes me feel more confident that we'll see them slide down the table
agreed.
because they're not just like from the eye test. They're not a great team offensively. They're not a
No,
great team defensively. They're just the Red Bulls.
yeah, they are. Again, they feel like an average MLS team.
They feel like every other Red Bulls team I've ever watched.
Yeah, but an average MLS team that has a pretty rough schedule.
Coming up, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable saying frauds.
Okay.
I'm comfortable saying frauds. They feel like they have 4 or 5 more points than they should.
Yeah, I would say if they sat on 23 points right now, I wouldn't see anything wrong with that. I'd be like,
Yeah,
that seems right.
yeah. I don't know where
It-
that they picked those up, those fraudulent 4 points, but somewhere in their
right.
fixtures.
Yeah, I feel like they probably picked up some fraudulent points by uh, beating Nashville and beating probably Charlotte recently.
That sounds about right. Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
and they had
All right.
Chicago early in the season.
Yeah, they had easy Chicago.
Easy Chicago, still figuring themselves out.
Right. Still finding themselves. Now, if they were to play Chicago again, I would expect
Get
Chicago to
cooked.
also play them off the park.
Yes.
Yeah, you'd have some roasted bulls,
Yeah.
flame broiled, some would say. And again, stop me if you heard this before, Gavin. Just like Orlando, 3 points off second. They are 2 points off of 10th. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of shifting around. Also, other stat, just as I'm about to move on, they have an incredible home record, like outstanding, amazing home record.
Which is unlike them.
Yeah, which is unlike them. And as I'm looking at them with their terrible, awful, horrific away record, they have a lot of away matches coming up.
Okay, so they're definitely going to slide.
Yeah, they have
Red
a
Bulls will be in
lot of
10th
away
before we know it,
matches.
or
Honestly,
11th.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, mm, I think they're better than 11th. I
Okay.
think 10th is about right.
Well, 10th is NYCFC's spot.
Then they're gonna have to figure it out.
They're both 10th.
I don't.
Both New York teams
Yeah,
are 10th.
yeah. I don't know. They're gonna have to figure it out. I don't know. I mean, like I could see them slide to 11th just because of how tight it is, but 11th feels too low. That makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Like 9th, 10th makes all the sense in the world, but they also don't feel like a playoff team.
We're going to get to the last match day, and there's going to be a team at 11th, and we're going to be like, on another
How?
season, they finish in 6th.
Yeah, that's gonna be exactly what happens.
Yeah.
It's who do you think will be the surprise 11th place finisher?
Why is 11th place?
Surprise 11th place finisher. Yeah.
Probably similar to my take earlier. I'll say Charlotte for now.
Okay.
I'll say Charlotte.
Honestly, I think I might agree with that, at least for the moment. Them or maybe NYCFC, just because there's some really good teams in the East, and I could
Yeah.
see
NYCFC, I like
some,
that.
yeah,
I like NYCFC.
some above average team will
Yep.
be pushing. They'll be pushed down to 10th, and NYCFC will get pushed down.
Yeah.
It'll be Charlotte gets pushed down to 10th, and then NYC will get pushed.
Yeah, and it's hard because like I don't think Charlotte would deserve 11th. Like I think they're a
No.
pretty solid team. It's just
Yes, agree. That's hard because there are a number of really solid teams this year that, like you said, any previous year they're finishing 6th, 7th. They're comfortably looking at, the postseason and saying, see y'all in the postseason. We're selling tickets right now for for the
Yeah.
home, the home leg of the opening series.
best of 3, yeah.
Yeah, please let your season ticket rep, know if you'd like to opt in or opt out
Yeah.
of this opportunity to purchase tickets. And they'd be doing that in September, when they look at it and they're like, yeah, we're mathematically in. Incredible.
It's gonna be a fun season.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a fun
Someone's going to
second
get
half
to the end of
season.
the year and it's going to be like a shock
Mhm.
that they miss it.
It better not be Orlando. I'm gonna be pissed.
Here's the thing. I think it could be any of these teams between 6th and 10th that miss.
I think that's fair, yeah. We don't know what
Because-
happens injury wise or
Yeah, because we're going to go to 5th now, Gavin, which is Columbus. I think Columbus are safely into the playoffs, just knowing Wilfred Nancy, knowing how they play down the stretch.
yeah.
I think they might even push up by the end of the season. I think they're going to push up into like the 4th place slot right now. They've been a little inconsistent is the only reason why I wouldn't put them into like a 3rd spot.
I mean, right now they are in their worst stretch of form I can remember since Nancy took over. I think they're 6
they're
or
still in
7
fifth.
games without a win. And yeah, they're still in 5th. So it's going to be interesting to see. I do think their trajectory this season will be up. I think this is like their floor almost is fifth
Yeah,
place. I don't
and
see them getting dragged down into sixth.
I think it entirely depends on the summer. If they go and get a good striker in the summer,
Can you pull up
straight
their
up the table.
squad? Are they
I can pull up their squad.
like? I mean,
You
sorry.
might
I
not
mean, like
you
the.
might not like their squad.
I mean the. Are they U22 or are they DP?
Oh yeah. Hold on.
Sorry. Because I can pull up their squad.
The Columbus Crew are a DP build. In
Okay.
fact,
Do they
at
have
the
all
time
three?
of no, and at the time of roster compliance, they had zero U22s.
Well, interesting. Did that include Gazdag, or is he their one DP now?
He took a DP spot.
No, Rossi's got to be a DP.
Rossi is a DP.
Okay, so they have two.
Um,
How are you saying they have zero?
no, they have zero U22 spots.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, Darlington Nagby is listed as a DP.
I'm sure they could tam him pretty easily.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the contract layout. I would agree with you. He's probably a paper DP, not a true DP, but
Right. Well, they have under 22 flexibility.
yeah, but boy do they. They've got
So,
3 spots.
yeah. I agree that it's down to the summer. But man, this run of form has been insane from them.
Hmm.
Their squad's better than this. So, well, sorry, their squad underneath Wilfred Nancy is better than this run of form that they're in right now. Under a different coach, maybe not.
Yeah. They list Aliu on the website as a U22, but I need to look at where he is on roster compliance. And roster compliance, he wasn't listed. So my guess is they added him as a U22
Mm-hmm.
after roster compliance dropped. So
Man, that's a brutal use of your coveted under 22 slots. I won't lie. You've seen him in the league. You're gonna use him under 22. Maybe he's a paper under 22. Maybe it's just because
I
he's
mean,
literally under 22 years old.
no, I couldn't tell you. He is 23 though.
Right, but you know how it lasts for a
Yeah, I
couple of
mean you
years.
can yeah. As long as they're signed when they're under 22 and their first year of the contract would have been under 22, I think they can stay on it for like 3 more years.
Yeah. I think Cesar Autorujo was under 22 too. He was like 25.
Yeah. So yeah, look, as I'm looking at their roster though, right? Like you can look at what they have and you're not like looking at this and saying like, oh, they're playing this bum as like a starting player. Like, no wonder, right? Like they don't have anyone that you would look at and be like, how are they a starter?
Right. Agreed. People would point at Russell Rowe, but I think Russell Rowe is a
Yeah, I mean,
pretty decent player.
yeah,
He is an
he's
upgrade
decent.
opportunity, though.
Agree.
We all know that.
He is. I think he is your clearest upgrade opportunity,
Yep.
especially if Nagby can be taken off of a DP spot. Then I
Mm-hmm.
think you do that, and then you immediately start winning matches.
Yeah. There you go. Easy peasy. They
Easy
know what they
peasy.
need to do.
So
They'll do it.
yeah, I think for right now, then in this exact moment, fifth might be fair for them because they lack that key piece. But I think I would anticipate them on an upward trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree.
Okay, who do they push out?
Oh,
That's my
Nashville.
question.
It's Nashville.
That's interesting.
It's Nashville.
That's very interesting because that's not who I would have picked.
You would
That
pick
said,
Cincinnati because you hate your own team.
no. I would have picked Cincinnati, but not for that reason
I
I
know.
listed. Anyways, so fifth through ninth, we've got this covered. Who belongs in fifth through ninth? Who do you think is going up or down out of it?
Ooh. Who belongs in fifth or ninth? So I said New England deserved to be in the playoffs, so that means I need to say one team doesn't deserve to be
Right,
in fifth or ninth.
right.
I would
And
say
if we
Red Bulls. I would say Red
okay,
Bulls don't deserve to be fifth or ninth at the moment. And I know they're all the way up to sixth, but man, oh man, does that feel fraudulent?
yeah, I would agree. I also think again, I just think Columbus push up into a top 4 spot by the end of the season,
Yep, I agree with that.
and I think I don't know. I think Cincinnati do come down, but we'll talk about them in a little bit, and I'll tell you my reasoning why.
This might be hyperbole. This might be crazy, but Chicago might push into fourth.
I think Chicago could do it. I
A lot of
see a
season to play.
very yeah, it's a lot of season to play. I think like they're not going to be a wild card team. That's for sure. I think they will be firmly a playoff team. They'll be at least fifth through seventh. Probably like again, a lot of season left. We're assuming they're going to keep playing at the level that they're playing at. But if they do, I think sixth might be their floor.
I think so. Well, it's hard because we've seen them earlier this season.
Yeah.
I guess this iteration of them, I think I would give them seventh as their floor. I would give them down to seventh just because of how hectic it is in there.
But again, to your point, a point earlier, right? It's hectic in the middle of this table. Between Columbus and Chicago, fifth and ninth is just 3 points. So, I mean, a win literally can push you from ninth to like fifth, right? Or ninth to sixth.
Yep.
Based on who's winning and losing that any given match day.
And you're in fifth and you get a draw, you could drop down to eighth. Like, it's just.
Yeah.
So other teams get their wins.
There's an enormous potential for movement.
Yeah.
In the middle of this table. All right, Gavin, top four. We've made it. Got to talk about it. Okay.
Okay.
Nashville. They're in fourth place. BJ Callahan looks like he might actually be a pretty good coach.
Okay.
Hani Mukhtar looks like he knows how to play soccer again.
I think he does. Yep.
Sam Surge looks like a player that scored a bunch of goals for Nottingham Forest.
Yes, he does.
Their midfield does not look like 3 exclusively stay-at-home central defensive mids.
No. They know how to get the ball to their really good attackers. Yeah. I think some of that's BJ Callahan, to be fair.
I agree with you. I think he had to do some deprogramming of that team.
Mm-hmm.
Because even once he took over for Gary Ball, there was some pretty clear signs that this team forgot how to play soccer.
Yes.
And now we're seeing the other end of it. I think fourth is fair.
I just feel like they're a little too high.
But I feel like you're a little too high as one position. Like if they dropped down to sixth at the end of the season, I would look at that and be like, that's kind of a disappointing finish for them because they were looking incredible for decent stretches.
I feel like that is where I feel like they should be, fifth or sixth, in the middle of the pack. I don't feel like they're a home playoff team in this Eastern Conference. That's just my gut feeling.
I'll just point this out. You say that, they've lost one time at home this season.
I think their home form is definitely carrying them.
1,000,000% carrying them. In fact, looking at it, home form is carrying the vast majority of the teams that are sitting in playoff spots right
sense. Now. Good teams are going to win at home. But, like, I just feel like they haven't beaten, like, amazing teams. Who have they beaten?
Well,
like I can't picture them beating an amazing team other than, like, I remember early on in the season they got a crazy win against Philadelphia, but that was like in the second or third match week.
Yeah, they did get a crazy win against Philadelphia. They got a crazy win against Chicago in April.
Which 7-2.
It's April, yeah.
Bless
so, take that for, thank you. So take that for, the grain of salt that it is, because I don't think Chicago really exploded, warmed to the roaring inferno of soccer that they are until May.
Chicago needed that 7-2 to push on and become the team they are today. We'll just say that.
Mm-hmm. Now, holy moly, they played an incredible amount of soccer in the month of May. Just for
a lot of people.
While I have this up, but how many matches do you think they played in May?
I'm gonna say 8.
8's a good guess. 9.
9. Orlando played
9 matches.
Orlando played 8 or 9 as well. A lot of teams played 8 or 9.
Yeah, I mean it's a lot of soccer.
Yeah,
it's almost once every 3 days for most of these sides, which that's a lot of soccer. And they actually did pretty well for that stretch too, because in the month of May, draw Atlanta, win over Charlotte, win over Red Bulls, draw DC, win over Orlando, win over Toronto, draw Columbus, they're at Columbus, draw NYCFC. And I would say maybe the only ones where you're really looking at those and being like, oh, those are not good results is like the Atlanta draw and the New York City draw.
And they were
And maybe not
2-0 over NYCFC. They gave
yeah.
it up. The Orlando win was in the Open Cup as well, just to call that out.
Oh yeah, it was.
But yeah, yeah, they did really well in May. Yeah,
I mean,
that's
they were
fantastic.
literally undefeated in the month of May
Yeah, that's really good.
across all competitions.
They're
The
a good
last time they
team.
lost was April.
Yeah, maybe they are a home playoff team. Maybe I'm wrong about them. I don't see it.
Uh-huh.
I don't know
Here,
why.
let me help you. Ready? Here's their next 5 matches. Chicago. Okay. Could go either way. That'll be a
Mm-hmm.
good match.
Mm-hmm.
New England Revolution.
I think
DC United.
that'll be a good match. They'll kill them.
Philadelphia.
Good match.
DC United again.
Damn, they'll kill them. Are either of those DC games in the Open Cup?
The second DC game is in the Open Cup.
Okay.
So your first 4 are all regular season, and then they've got Open Cup, and then after the Open Cup and the drubbing of DC United, they'll then go, a couple hours south down to Miami to play Miami in July, where ostensibly probably a good number of their players are either going to be on hiatus for international competition or they're going to be completely burned out from playing, Club World Cup.
Plus, it's the insane
Plus, it's
heat
July
in
in
Miami.
Florida.
Yeah,
Yeah.
brutal. Yeah. Okay. I just feel like they have more wins coming their way than losses. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I would agree.
maybe fourth is fair. Okay. Fierce. I guess everyone in the top four has got to be fierce, right?
Maybe.
Fierce.
Maybe. I might disagree with that, actually.
Oh, okay.
Do you have anything else you want to talk about for Nashville before we talk about 2 teams that I've got some thoughts on?
We haven't talked about him a ton on the podcast, but Tag Seth has been fantastic this season.
Yeah. Tag Seth, as well as Kassem.
Kassem has been amazing.
He is definitely what they needed. Like, when Randall Leal was healthy in like that first season for Nashville, where they were good and enjoyable to watch, Leal was vitally important to their midfield.
Yeah.
And they never fully replaced him once he started to missing matches due to injury.
And they held on to it for way too long.
Way too long, because they kept probably thinking, well, he had the amazing season with us. This year he'll be healthy, which, like, I get it. It's unfortunate for a player to have like multiple years of not being healthy and not being available, but they really needed a plan for what do you do if it were to happen again, and they didn't have one.
Right. Yeah.
Now they have a player who replaces what he wasn't bringing. And I hope they have a plan for if something were to happen to Kassem. But they finally replaced Leal. So, and we see what it does for their midfield.
Yep. They've been really good. Really, really good.
Yeah, enjoyable.
Yeah, we can go to the next team.
All right. For context, she'll sit on 29 points. Third place, Miami, also sit on 29 points. Flip side of that, remember, opposite direction, Orlando, 7th place, 2 points off of Nashville in 4th. I mean, for that matter, they're 2 points off of Miami in 3rd. So, anyways, a lot of potential movement. Miami sit in 3rd. I think, Gavin, they might actually be frauds. I think they're going to drop out of the top 4.
They have a tough run coming up.
Not even, well,
They
yes,
do have
but
the
no.
Club World Cup.
Yeah, I was going to say they have the Club World Cup, which is going to take, I mean, again, it's more minutes on legs that are already aging, right?
Mm-hmm.
Suarez is not doing it anymore. I don't think that is controversial to say. He doesn't have it left in him. Jordi Alba, they're like trying to move him up into the midfield because he can't do the thing that he did all last season, where he's being like an incredible left back. He's running out of steam. Messi's still Messi, right? Like, pace isn't part of his game, but I don't know how much you can rely on that. And yeah, like, they've had some great wins, but I just don't know. Like, they've got, Al Ali, they've got Porto, they've got Palmeiras. there's 3 matches coming up in, a 1 week span, 9-day span. If they somehow get through that, right? Their schedule only is going to get more congested. And if they don't get through it, they've got 5 days and then they're playing against Atlanta in the regular season.
Well, MLS will move their schedule around if they make it through, for sure.
They will, but where are they going to move the matches to?
Later in the season,
Where?
I don't know. They'll figure it out.
Like, because listen to this. Like,
They're gonna have a game
this,
like 2 days. They'll have like a 1 day
yeah,
rest and then another game.
they will have to.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Gavin, even once you get through this, right? Like they've got those 3 matches, and then they've got a match on the 28th of June, and then they have already on their schedule they have 7 matches in July, and then they have 6 matches in August,
And they'll
and
have more if they make it through Leagues Cup.
yeah, exactly, because one of like 2 of these matches actually are like the 2nd and the 6th of August are already slated as Leagues Cup matches.
Jeez.
And if they get knocked out of Leagues Cup, they've got 4 days off, and then they're in regular season play again. I mean, yeah, and it doesn't stop, right? And then you go into September, and like, okay, well, if you reschedule matches, then maybe you move some into September, but I mean,
Then they've got another
on.
8 or 9 game month.
Yeah, then you've got another
September.
8 or 9. And if you have to schedule matches multiple times, right? You move some into September, and there's like a 2 week span in October, but now in the first 2 weeks of October, you might squeeze, instead of 2 matches, now you squeeze in 4 or 5 matches.
And isn't there a international break around then? So they might be missing players in
Yeah, players.
October. So
Yeah,
damn.
and
Yeah.
then go into the postseason.
Yeah, they've brutal.
It's
And
a
they
lot.
had a brutal start to the season with CONCACAF Champions Cup, like just
Yeah,
never ending for them.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like I
So you
do
think they're
not see a way.
frauds just because it's just way too much?
It's gonna be way, way, way too much. I don't rate Javier Mascherano's tactics.
Oh yeah, that was where I was
The
gonna go with
Yeah,
my
the
point.
cracks again. The cracks are showing. You have minutes on legs. Like Javier Mascherano's tactics or lack thereof may not matter when guys like Messi, uh, you know, can go individual moment of brilliance, score you a free kick, and then like pull players to him all the time. But if Messi's not playing, or if you don't have those individual moment of brilliance players, his tactics aren't setting up the players that he has for success. Like they're
No.
getting picked apart by teams.
Yeah, yeah. Defensively, they're a mess, and I feel like they've. I was gonna say they've somewhat feels like they fixed it recently, but I don't know if it's actually fixed. I think it's
Yeah, I don't think it's fixed. I think as they've played Montreal in a heavily depleted Columbus.
yeah. I wonder if Okay, hear me out on this.
Yeah,
I
I'm hearing.
still think Mascherano was a failure of a signing. I think that
Agree.
it's been a waste of a season when you have Messi, Busquets, Suarez, Jordi Alba. They've wasted all that talent on a inexperienced head coach. But
Yes.
hear me out.
Yeah,
What if
I'm waiting for the part where I disagree with
the
you.
Club World Cup is this new amazing built out Club World Cup? Before it was just kind of like this stupid 4 team trophy, or 6 team or however 8 teams maybe, but like it wasn't as built up. Now there's a huge prize pool for the clubs. We can talk about the players, although I think you and Bo already covered that.
No,
Um,
we didn't talk about we didn't go in depth on what's gone on since. We briefly highlighted the Club World cash grab, but
Club World Cash Grab shirts. Well, it's not great. But anyways, it's the biggest stage this season. I will say. I think Champions League is still bigger, but it's the biggest stage. Players will want to perform, and maybe players are saving themselves for it. Maybe they're just not pushing as hard in this last month or so. They don't want to get injured before the Club World Cup, kind of like how players do with the real World Cup, where they save themselves, they don't push themselves too hard so that they're available for their countries in the World Cup. So maybe they're just saving themselves. They want to be available, they don't want to be injured, and then they're really going to push in these 3 games. That's my hear me out.
I think you're wrong. Yeah,
I
it's.
tried, Miami fans. I tried.
I mean, look, if they were, if you said, hear me out, and it was like a 1-0 win over Columbus and like a 1-0 win over Montreal, I would be like, you know what, Gavin, you might be onto something. They put up 9 goals between those two matches.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm just, let me look real quick here.
That's fair. That's not
As
very save your selfie.
no, no, it's not. And as I look at the lineups here, yeah, I mean, Suarez starts, Messi starts, Busquets starts in the most recent Miami versus Columbus match.
Now that was end of May, so they did have a 2 week break.
Yeah, but I don't think the whole like we're saving ourselves argument is gonna hold up on that one.
Yeah, yeah. I think you're probably right. I tried.
But I don't.
I'm down. I'm down to fraud. I'm down to fraud them.
Yeah,
They've
I mean,
been not great
they're
this past 7, 8, 9 games.
right, and certainly not what you would expect from the names on this roster
Yep.
and what it means to have these players in this league and to have some of these like young talented players that are supposed to be like the next European prospect who are stopping in MLS for like a year, maybe 18 months because they want to play with Messi on a team friendly contract. You get dumped out of Champions Cup. You don't win MLS Cup last year. You lose to Atlanta. I don't think they even played in US Open Cup, right? So like they didn't even have a chance to win that.
Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
think
if they
so.
don't, let's say they lose Leagues Cup again this year, right? Because they've already won that. Are they going to try for it again? Probably not.
They probably throw that competition. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Mascherano's not going to care.
Club World Cup, they're not going to win it. Okay, I'll spoiler alert, they're not going to win Club World Cup.
If they do, that's like the biggest. They would have needed so much referee help.
Yeah, I
Calling offsides on clearly not offside goals. Calling
yeah, I just
handballs in the build-up.
look, they're not going to win it.
Yeah.
So I think you get to the point of the season where it's like, what are they playing for? They have MLS Cup. That's it. I don't think they're even Supporter Shield contenders right now. Philadelphia and Vancouver are miles away from them.
Yeah. I don't think they're going to win Supporter Shield.
Yeah. And again, I guess they got it what last year, right?
Yeah, they broke the
But
points record last year.
yeah, for better or worse though, how many people care about that, right? There's Supporter Shield truthers in MLS, but vast majority of people, if you say which one do you want, Supporter Shield or the star above your crest because you won MLS Cup,
Right. Yep.
we know what most people are taking. Again, right, wrong, and different. We know what they're picking.
Yep. I'll take either. I'll just say that
Yeah.
as a Orlando City fan, I'll take either.
I don't think you've won anything. So
Open Cup. We won the Open Cup.
yeah, okay. Well, look, as a Cincinnati fan, we've won the Supporter Shield. I'll take the MLS Cup every single day of the week because that's what I want. Anyways, yeah, Miami or not, they've got to go all in on MLS Cup, and I don't see them staying up this high. Like if you want to stay healthy, you're gonna have to rotate, and they have not shown anything lately that makes me think that that would go well for them.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
All right, Cincinnati.
Frauds.
Yeah, fraud 2.0. I agree with you. I think Noonan's tactics have been figured out.
I
Like
think
they're
you're
winning.
right.
Okay, yeah. Like yes, Cincinnati sit in second place. It sounds very rich to be like, oh, it's easy to be like, your team's in second place. You can call them frauds, whatever. Like they're clearly not frauds. Look at Cincinnati's form.
No wins in 4.
Yeah, no wins in 4. They lost to DC United, and they looked like the worst team the entire time. They got a draw against Dallas, and they looked like a team that would have not won against Dallas. They looked like they were always at risk of giving up another goal, and they did. They looked like the worst team against Atlanta. They got a lucky draw against Columbus. That's a gentle way of putting it. And the win against Toronto was like, Toronto's not a good team, and it was not a convincing win.
Wasn't that midweek though? Like wasn't that just like a go
Yeah,
out there, get a win no matter what, figure it out, but like
it was, but I mean,
still not convincing when you look at the rest of
Toronto,
the.
yeah, they're not a good team. Like
Right.
you didn't need to have an amazing game to get a convincing win, but you needed to do better than that.
Knowing you, I know there's stuff going behind the scenes in
Oh
that
yeah,
locker room.
tons.
And
But
so I wonder if just some of that is carrying over onto the pitch, not even in like a direct way, but almost like an indirect way, like players getting a little bit slightly more annoyed with each other, maybe not feeling like making that lung bursting run for their teammate, um, not really moving. I'm not seeing a lot of off ball movement at the moment, so
there's
things like that.
there's not a lot of off-ball movement, and I chalk that one up to the tactics though, because if you look at it, right, even if you move off the ball, where's your outlets? If you're a player and you're moving off the ball, okay, I made myself available. If the ball gets passed to me, do I have an open pass? No. My option is to pass it backwards all the way back to Matt Miazga or Robinson at center back.
Yeah,
It's uninspired.
yeah.
There's zero midfield for Cincinnati. And Gavin, how many times have we said it? The midfield in MLS is like that is where you win or lose the game. It
Mm-hmm.
is the single most important part of this league.
Every single successful team in this league has had a really good central defensive midfield, either
Yeah.
one or two, like a pairing.
And not only that, they have a good midfield in general. Like even going forward, right? They have a way to get the ball forward. If you try and pressure them, they have a way to keep the ball away from you. They have a way to, play out from pressure. They may not be a high scoring team, but they have a way to do it. Cincinnati doesn't have a way to do it.
Honestly, I've watched you guys quite a bit this season. It's been some brutal watches. You guys aren't fun to watch.
We're
You're
not
not
fun to
extremely
watch.
creative. You're not defensively resilient by any stretch of the imagination. So yeah, I agree with you on the frauds. I could see you
Yeah.
guys falling out of the top four for sure.
I I don't think we fall all the way out of playoffs for the record. I
No,
think
no, no, no.
it, just for better or worse, once again, there is so much talent on this roster, and guys like Denke and Evander have shown the ability to just be individually brilliant that they are going to get wins where Cincinnati does not deserve it, which they've done multiple times this season. But I could see the team falling as far as like seventh, eighth.
I had your guys' floor as sixth, so it's interesting. You have them all the way down to play in. A play in would be a disaster for you guys.
It would be a disaster. But Gavin, here's the thing. Look how tight seventh is. It's 3 points away. You
Yeah.
get two more bad games.
Yep. Yep.
Like, let's say Cincinnati goes. I mean, if I pull up the schedule, right? Like, Cincinnati is not at home again until the 5th of July. So, like, they
Mm,
go to New England. New England's in great form right now. Let's say they lose to New England. They go away to Montreal. Montreal are not a good team. But if Montreal just say, we're going to pack it in and play for a draw, Cincinnati don't look like a team that can break down a team that's packing it in and playing for a draw, let alone if Montreal somehow gets up a goal because we get, a bad moment.
yeah. Yeah.
And then we go to Orlando. I think Orlando wins right now on the basis of form and tactics. So
Yeah.
if we
Probably.
go if we go through June and let's say we get 1 point or 3 points, let's say we beat Montreal, but 3 points in the month of June,
Yeah.
there's gonna be multiple teams that have leaped us by that point.
And you guys are on a +1 goal difference,
Oh
which
yeah,
is usually unheard of for a team in
in
second
second place.
place.
Yeah.
So
The next team with a +1 goal differential is Charlotte in eighth.
yeah.
And we already talked about where we think Charlotte ends up.
Right. Right.
So yeah, I'm not super optimistic about Cincinnati if they don't make some really significant changes. Because again, there's talent on this roster, but when you watch it, there's no joy to play.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I think Cincinnati fall. With that said, Gavin, hold on, quick break here. So we think Cincinnati could fall. We think Miami could fall.
Hmm.
Who do you think pushes up?
Columbus.
Columbus, okay.
I
Chicago?
did say Chicago.
You did say.
So I'll go with Chicago. I say they're going to go on a run.
Okay. what do you think? Like Philadelphia, Nashville, Columbus, Chicago?
I'd push Columbus up to second. Like maybe they figure it out.
Okay. Okay.
Nashville third, and then Chicago fourth.
That would be a heck of a top four.
Yeah, it would be.
That would be incredible. And it's possible is the really wild thing. So
The cool thing is Philly ain't giving up first.
yeah,
I don't
no,
think anyone's predicting that.
Philly sitting first place around 34 points, like comfortable gap. When you consider how tight the rest of the East is, a 4 point gap between the next position, like that's basically you're talking, New England and DC United is the next comparable gap. And when you look at DC United, you're like, they're not overtaking New England. So you look at second place or even third place. Are they overtaking Philadelphia? Probably not.
And for as incredible a season as Vancouver's had, Philadelphia are 1 point behind them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Vancouver, hey, they've got a game in hand.
Yes, they do. Yep.
Not that it matters. Yeah. And on top of that, Philadelphia have been good home and away. Like I think that's the biggest difference between them and every other team is when you look at their record. They have a winning record at home. They have a winning record away.
Philadelphia have been excellent, man.
Yeah, they really have been. I think rightly so. People will be skeptical of how long a Carnell-led side can sustain that for.
I don't feel like they're pressing as heavy as they were to start the season, though. I feel like they've kind of dialed it back a bit, and it's still working.
And I think even if they press hard, think about the makeup of Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like a St. Louis side where you look at it and you're like, hey, there's some veterans on this team. Like, yeah, there's veterans on this team for, yeah, for Philadelphia, but it skews young. And they've got talent flooding out of that academy. Like, yeah, out of all the sides, right, in this entire league, if you had to do a short-term loan for players from your academy that you had to call up to the first team side, Philadelphia, Seattle. I mean, who else? Who else are you
RSL.
calling up? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess RSL.
Orlando recently. Our academy's finally like producing some pretty good talent.
Do they have the historic trend to back it up, though?
No, this is a new thing. But
Yeah.
our academy pipeline right now, we won the GA Cup. The under 17s won the GA Cup. There was a U13 and U14 competition that whoever wins those age groups, those ages usually go on to become professionals. We won both the U13 and U14 this year. We're like winning everything right now. There's another competition. I think we won a couple of our leagues. U15 may have won their league. So Orlando's pipeline right now is incredible at the moment.
Yeah.
But we don't have the history. No.
Okay. Here's something that's going to probably make you feel even better about picking Philadelphia. Their month of June, tough month of June. They've got Charlotte, Chicago, Columbus.
Not easy.
Tough month of June.
Those are tough teams.
Here is their July. Nashville, New York Red Bulls, U.S. Open Cup. New York Red Bulls regular season. Montreal, Houston, Colorado.
That's so comfortable for them.
That's a good July.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get into August. And they have Toronto. New York Red Bulls again.
Oh my gosh.
Chicago, this time Philadelphia is at home.
Okay.
And then Cincinnati, who by August, who knows what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, I think the Toronto and who was after Toronto?
New York Red Bulls again.
Red Bulls.
Yeah.
I think those will be fine. I think Chicago
will be a tough one.
Could be tricky for sure.
Yeah. I need to see. I think Cincinnati, if they make a significant change and still see their season, I don't know about rebound, but I think they can definitely see their season have some upswing to it by the time playoffs comes around. But
and the crazy thing about Philly is like, I feel like they're complete almost. Like I look at their squad And
Yeah,
like
who do they
it,
need to bring in?
yeah, if this summer, if they're looking at this summer and they're like, we really want to push, we want to push to go win the league.
Yeah,
Well, you're not bringing in a
w-
striker to replace Ura or Baribo.
no.
You're,
Well, I think you could make an argument that you need a striker to be the backup to Ure.
but they just brought in Damiani, so they're not going to do that.
I think Damiani is a backup to Ure, though. I think they do different things.
They do different things, yeah, but they just brought
And
in Damiani, so they're not going to buy another
yeah,
one.
but I don't think like if Ure goes off, he's so important to their side,
Hmm.
and they don't have anyone who can replicate
Yeah,
what
they
he
don't have an
does.
analog.
So that's why I think like
Maybe.
getting a backup, like a fill in, could be good summer business. But like
Yeah, they got Donovan, bro.
yeah, but like they don't need to do it.
No, they don't. They got Lukic and Jacques in midfield. They've got Quinn Sullivan. They just brought in Ben Bender. They've got Bedoya in for veteran presence along the back line. Kai Wagner, you're not going to get another left back like him.
Nope.
Mbaizo, Harriel, Magana, Glesnes, like
I
goalkeeper
mean,
Blake.
Glesnes is an incredible player.
Yeah, like where is there a place to upgrade in the squad right now? Maybe Quinn Sullivan, is Quinn Sullivan like a locked in starter, but he's also been incredible this season. So like why would you do
Yeah, I
that?
mean,
So I don't think they have a ton of room to operate in terms of upgrading their squad,
yeah.
which I think is pretty
I think
impressive.
I think just reinforcing the positions where you look at it and you're like, what's the risk if something were to happen? Like, what's our drop off?
Hmm.
And I think Ure is like the only spot where I would look at it and be like, that's a drop off
Hmm.
if he goes out.
Yeah,
Which, if one position is all you look at and say that's a big drop off,
it's
doing
pretty
all
good.
right.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Who do you think wins Supporter Shield? Caps or Philly?
Gosh, that's so difficult. Vancouver,
Agree. Yeah.
and only because I think the West it has some really weak teams in it. I mean, the East has weak teams too. We talked about the bottom five there,
Mm-hmm.
but I think
The
there's
bottom's
like
not good.
a bottom like 7 or 8 in the West that Vancouver should just be steamrolling and have been steamrolling this whole time. And
Yeah.
defensively, Vancouver are really solid. So even against the good teams, they should be pretty competitive.
Yeah. I'm not even going to disagree with anything that you said. In fact, I would just further reinforce it by saying Vancouver said they had a bunch of players out for international duty. They had a bunch of players questionable who were sick. Seattle goes in mostly okay, like in great condition compared to Vancouver, right? And lose and like I mean, if you're beating teams that are deep like Seattle and you're running out, the last vestiges of your team, very clearly your system is working. Very clearly the players are bought in.
Yeah, well said. Well said. I couldn't believe they won that game. By the way,
Yeah, I mean,
I think
two
there were 18.
two red cards.
There were 18 players on the injury report listed as either out or questionable. They go and beat Seattle Sounders 3-0. Come on,
Yeah,
that's insane.
that's the part about it that blows me away the most is I don't think either of those red cards came and changed like the lead of that match because I think Vancouver already had the lead prior to either of the red cards, and it's just like
They scored at the end of the first half, and Vancouver were the better team in the first half. They just kind of just sat off, let Seattle do their thing. Seattle couldn't break them down. They transitioned, got a goal, and then both red cards happened very quickly, and it was game over at that point.
yeah, second
Incredible.
half red cards,
Yeah.
insane. I mean,
Yeah.
just incredible. So yeah, I think Vancouver are the real deal is if you just ignore what happened against Cruz Azul, which I think you can just write it as a one-off. Like there's a lot of challenges to playing that much soccer. Cruz Azul are fully rested. They're 3 weeks, 2.5, 3 weeks out of playing a match.
Vancouver was sick.
Vancouver, when they said, just for clarity, they said they were sick after the match.
Oh, I thought they were sick before the match.
They were sick after the match.
Well, if you're sick not right after, but like the next day, maybe there were some symptoms before.
I don't know, Gavin.
Okay.
I've gotten quick illnesses that we might have discussed prior
Yeah.
to recording
Yeah.
this, 5.5 hour episode.
Hey, we didn't go 2.5 hours like you and Bo did.
Yeah, we didn't. You're right. We are finishing later though than
Yes.
Bo and I did.
Yes.
Due to the nature of us,
We started
BSing
later.
for we started 45 minutes later than what we intended.
We didn't do a who's going to get out of the Eastern Conference. I don't know if you did that for the Western and the playoffs, because I genuinely have no idea who's going to make it out, because it's going to be a bloodbath.
It is going to be a bloodbath. I'm just going to pick Philadelphia, Cincinnati, Miami, Nashville, Columbus, Orlando, Chicago, Charlotte, New England. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, who's going to make the final?
The final of the Eastern Conference?
Yeah. No. Who's going to make MLS Cup final out of the East? Who's the Eastern representative at this moment in time?
Philadelphia.
Gosh, that is so difficult. It's probably Philadelphia, but it's going to be tough.
And here's my justification for it. If it's Philadelphia versus Chicago in the final, I think Chicago could win that, because they are the only team that is doing well on the road. If it is any other team, because I think Philadelphia have first place locked in for the East, no team is doing well on the road.
Yeah, no team.
So if Philadelphia are hosting that, Philadelphia have a winning record at home. They have a winning record on the road. So I think they very likely make it through the first round, and then they just continue to roll through second, third. They get to the conference final. I think they'll win whoever they play, as long as it's not Chicago, and then they go into MLS Cup final against Vancouver.
Okay. I will say this. I know I was pretty down on them when we got to them, but in a one-off game against Philadelphia, Nashville could be a problem.
They could be.
Mukhtar, Qasim, especially with Zimmerman back by the playoffs.
But I just
tag in there.
I am so skeptical of their ability on the road, though. I mean, they are. Yeah. With the exception of New York, they are one of the worst teams in the top 7 on the road.
Yeah, but one-off game.
One-off, anything can happen.
We'll see.
I think it would be fun to have a Philadelphia-Chicago Eastern Conference final.
Oh yeah, that'd be dope. That'd be great.
And I would not be able to predict a winner between that.
Greg Berhalter. Why not? Just for funsies.
Yeah, could you imagine Greg Berhalter winning MLS Cup his first season in the league?
Gosh, the USMNT fans would lose their minds.
Yeah, so many heads would explode seeing that happen. Oh my gosh. All right, well, hey, Gavin, it's fun. I had a blast. I have terrible news for you, though, which is we both need to go to bed.
Yes, I'm ready.
That's great news for the listeners who, if they somehow made it through this episode, if they somehow stuck it out for the, nearly 2.5 hours that we're creeping up on at this point, thank you very much for sticking through this episode. We appreciate everyone who continues to listen. Gavin certainly appreciates it more than he'll ever let on, but it means the world to Gavin. Makes his heart, flutter with joy. So if you want to make Gavin's heart flutter with joy further, you can go find the podcast on social media. We're at MLS Now Podcast. Reach out to us. Let us know what we're doing right. Politely let us know what we're doing wrong, or don't. It's the internet. You get what you get with the internet, right? So with that said, then, listeners, thank you very much. Gavin, thank you very much. My cat is somewhere around here as always. He was quiet tonight. He did not have much to say for the podcast, so the cat thanks you as well, and I thank the cat for letting me record in peace. So with that said, everyone, till next time.
Till next time.